The ultimatum, the massive alien station hung in space like a metal mountain. Captain John Davis stared at it through the viewport of his ship, the Earth vessel Unity. The structure was 20 times larger than anything humans had ever built. Its dark hull reflected no light, and strange symbols covered its surface. First time seeing a council station, Captain? Asked his second-in-command, Commander Lisa Wang. Yes, Davis replied. And I hope it's the last time we need to come here begging. 3 months ago, Earth's deep space sensors had detected alien ships near the outer planets. The ships didn't attack, but they sent a message in perfect English. The Galactic Council wishes to meet with Earth's representatives. Davis had been chosen to lead humanity's first diplomatic mission to meet these aliens. The Council claimed to represent thousands of worlds across the galaxy. They promised peaceful contact and mutual benefit. The docking bay of the alien station could have held 100 human ships. As the Unity settled onto the landing platform, Davis saw crews of different alien species working together. Some looked like giant insects, others resembled walking trees, and a few seemed to be made of living stone. Remember, Davis told his team as they prepared to leave the ship, "We're here to establish peaceful relations. Earth wants to join the galactic community as equals." Ambassador Paul Green nodded. He carried humanity's proposal for partnership, shared technology, open trade, and mutual defense agreements. Dr. Susan Clark held her tablet with information about human science and culture. The aliens led them through corridors that seemed designed for creatures much larger than humans. The walls showed moving pictures of space battles and conquered worlds. Davis noticed that in every image, one species seemed to be in charge while others served them. The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of aliens sat in curved rows, all facing a raised platform where the most important delegates waited. The human party looked tiny in the vast space. At the center of the platform sat a creature that looked like a cross between a lizard and a bear. Its scales were dark green and its eyes glowed yellow. When it spoke, its voice echoed through the chamber. "I am Lord Commander Rex of the Krell Empire. The Council has decided to offer your species membership in our galactic civilization." Davis stepped forward. "We're honored by this offer. Earth looks forward to peaceful cooperation with all Council members." Rex made a sound that might have been laughter. "You misunderstand, human. This is not an invitation to partnership. You will serve the Council as all new species must." The alien handed Davis a metal tablet covered in symbols. Dr. Clark's translator device began working, showing the meaning in English. Davis felt his heart sink as he read. Earth would provide workers for dangerous mining operations on dead worlds. Human ships would carry supplies for Council forces. Earth's military would serve under alien commanders. In exchange, the Council would allow humanity to exist. "This isn't partnership," Davis said carefully. "This is slavery." The chamber erupted in sounds that the translator couldn't interpret, but Davis could guess their meaning. The aliens were laughing at him. Rex stood up. He was 3 meters tall and covered in battle scars. "Partnership is earned, human. Your species has existed for less than 1,000,000 years. The Council has ruled the galaxy for 10,000,000 years. You have built ships that barely leave your home system. We command fleets that span 1,000 worlds." Another alien, this one covered in blue fur, joined the conversation. "The Vega Republic tried to refuse Council membership. Their world is now a mining colony. The Centauri Federation demanded equal treatment. They serve in our labor camps." Rex leaned forward, his yellow eyes fixed on Davis. "You have 1 Earth year to accept our terms. If you refuse, we will take what we need by force. The Council has never failed to bring order to a rebellious world." Davis looked at his team. Ambassador Green's face was pale. Dr. Clark clutched her tablet with shaking hands. But Davis had been a military officer before becoming a diplomat. He knew when he was being threatened. "Earth will consider your offer," Davis said. "We request time to discuss these terms with our government." 1 year, Rex repeated. "Not 1 day longer." As the human delegation was escorted back to their ship, Davis noticed something troubling. Every alien species in the Council chamber showed signs of defeat. Hunched shoulders, downcast eyes, nervous movements, the only confident. Proud beings were the Corel Empire members. The council wasn't a partnership of equals. It was an empire with one ruling species and many servants. Back on the Unity, Davis gathered his team in the ship's briefing room. Earth was 3 weeks away by the fastest route, and they needed to prepare their report. They want us to be slaves, Ambassador Green said bluntly. Not slaves, Dr. Clark. Corrected. Vassals, there's a difference, but not much of one. Davis studied the tablet Rex had given him. The terms were clear. Humanity would serve the council or face destruction. The Krell Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds. Their fleets controlled all major trade routes. No species had ever successfully resisted them. What do we tell Earth? Green asked. Davis thought about his home world. 3 billion humans living their lives, building their futures, dreaming of the stars. The council wanted to turn them into servants. We tell them the truth. Davis said, the galaxy isn't what we hoped it would be, and we have 1 year to get ready for war. As the Unity began its journey back to Earth, Davis stood at the viewport watching the alien station grow smaller. He thought about the Corel Empire's confidence, their casual dismissal of human capabilities, their absolute certainty that Earth would submit. They had made one mistake. They assumed that humans would react like every other species they had encountered. They expected fear, submission, and acceptance of the inevitable. But Rex and his council had never met humans before. They didn't understand that humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology or numbers. It was their refusal to accept the unacceptable. The galaxy was about to learn that some species don't know when they're supposed to surrender.
The secret project. 6 months had passed since Captain Davis returned from the council station. Earth had gone completely silent. No human ships left the solar system. No radio signals reached alien worlds. From the galaxy's perspective, humanity had vanished. Lord Commander Rex found this amusing. He sat in his command ship orbiting a conquered world, reading reports from his spy networks. Every alien species in the galaxy was talking about the mysterious humans who had suddenly stopped all space activity. They're building defenses, his aide reported. Our long-range sensors detect construction in their asteroid belt. Rex laughed. A sound like grinding metal. Let them build. Walls and shields won't save them from the council fleet. No species has ever resisted us for long. But Rex was wrong about what humans were building. Deep inside the asteroid belt, in a hollowed-out rock the size of a small moon, Dr. Emma Stone stood before the most dangerous project in human history. The chamber around her hummed with energy. Magnetic fields strong enough to tear apart metal kept tiny amounts of antimatter suspended in perfect vacuum. How much do we have now? Asked General Mike Ross, the military commander overseeing project. Omega. 50 kilograms, Dr. Stone replied. Enough to power our entire civilization for a year. Or enough to destroy a planet. The Antimatter project had begun 20 years ago as a peaceful energy research program. Scientists had managed to create tiny amounts of antimatter in laboratory conditions, but storing it safely had proved nearly impossible. When antimatter touched normal matter, both were destroyed in a burst of pure energy. Everything changed. After Captain Davis returned with the Council's ultimatum, Earth's greatest minds had been brought together with unlimited resources and one goal: find a way to fight beings who controlled thousands of worlds. The magnetic containment system is working perfectly, Dr. Stone explained to the general. We can store antimatter safely and release it on command. 1 gram has more power than the largest nuclear bomb. General Ross nodded grimly. Earth's leaders had made a difficult decision. If the galaxy wanted war, humanity would give them war like they had never seen. In another part of the facility, engineer Tom Wright supervised the construction of humanity's new fleet. These weren't the slow, bulky ships that humans had built before. Every design element focused on one thing: delivering antimatter weapons to enemy targets. The new ships were small and fast. Their hulls were built from materials that absorbed radar and heat sensors, making them nearly invisible to alien detection systems. Their engines burned clean hydrogen, producing almost no energy signature. How many ships will be ready? General Ross asked Wright during his inspection. 48 combat vessels, Wright replied. Each one carries 12 antimatter torpedoes. They're not built for long battles, sir. They're built to hit fast and hit hard. But the most important work was happening in the computer labs. Dr. Alice. Kim led a team of programmers who were creating something the galaxy had never seen: artificial intelligence designed for space combat. Alien ships follow predictable patterns, Dr. Kim explained to her team. They've been fighting the same way for thousands of years. Our computers can learn their tactics and predict their moves. The AI system could process battlefield information faster than any living being. It could calculate the best attack angles, predict enemy movements, and coordinate multiple ships in perfect synchronization. Admiral Sarah Hill, Earth's highest-ranking military officer, visited the project regularly. She had been chosen to command humanity's fleet when the war began. The Council expects us to fight like everyone else, she told her officers during a briefing. Big ships, heavy armor, traditional tactics. They think war is about having the biggest guns. She pointed to a hologram showing the new human ships. We're going to show them that war is about having the smartest weapons. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the Council continued their normal activities. They collected taxes from subject worlds, moved their fleets between systems, and planned which species to conquer next. Rex received regular reports about Earth's silence. Some Council members suggested sending scouts to investigate, but Rex dismissed their concerns. Primitives always panic when faced with superior force, he told the Council assembly. The humans are probably building defenses or planning to flee their system. Neither will save them. Unknown to Rex, human spy drones had been studying Council ships and bases for months. The tiny invisible craft recorded everything: ship designs, weapon capabilities, fleet movements, and communication systems. Back on Earth, analysts studied every piece of intelligence. They learned that Council ships were powerful but slow. Their weapons were devastating but short-ranged. Their tactics had not changed in centuries. They fight like they're still using primitive technology, Captain Davis observed during a strategy meeting. Davis had been promoted to Admiral and given command of Earth's intelligence operations. They rely on massive ships with thick armor, added Dr. Stone. Their entire military doctrine is based on overwhelming firepower. Admiral Hill smiled grimly. Then we'll show them what happens when overwhelming firepower meets overwhelming intelligence. As Earth's deadline approached, the final components of humanity's response came together. The antimatter weapons were loaded onto the new ships. The AI systems were activated and began learning from thousands of battle simulations. The crews trained for missions that would determine the fate of their species. In the deepest part of the asteroid facility, a massive screen showed the countdown to the Council's deadline. When it reached 0, Rex would send his enforcement fleet to Earth, expecting easy victory over a primitive species. Instead, he would face something the galaxy had never seen: a fleet armed with antimatter weapons and guided by artificial intelligence that could outthink any alien commander. The countdown showed 37 days remaining. Dr. Stone looked at the antimatter containment units, their magnetic fields glowing with barely controlled energy. Soon, these tiny amounts of matter would change the balance of power in the galaxy. They wanted to judge us by their standards, she said to General Ross. They're about to learn that humans don't follow anyone else's rules.
First blood, the Council Enforcement Fleet emerged from hyperspace. At the edge of Earth's solar system, like a swarm of metal locusts, 300 ships of various sizes formed a massive wall of firepower stretching across space at the center. Rex's flagship Dominator dwarfed every other vessel, a floating fortress 5 kilometers long. Scan for human defenses, Rex ordered from his command throne. The bridge around him buzzed with activity as alien crew members operated their stations. No orbital platforms detected, reported his sensor officer. No defensive fleet in position. The planet appears undefended. Rex grinned, showing rows of sharp teeth. As expected, the humans have accepted their fate. But something felt wrong. Intelligence reports had suggested the humans were building defenses. Where were the desperate radio calls for mercy? Where were the hastily constructed battle stations? Take us deeper into the system, Rex commanded. I want to see this primitive world up close before we begin enforcement operations. The massive fleet moved forward, engines burning bright against the darkness of space. Rex felt the familiar satisfaction of another easy conquest. Soon, Earth would join the thousands of worlds serving the Council. Then the human ships appeared. They didn't emerge dramatically from behind planets or deckloak with energy flashes. One moment, empty space surrounded the Council fleet. The next moment, 48 sleek vessels hung motionless in perfect formation. As if they had always been there, Rex stared at the tactical display in confusion. His sensors hadn't detected the human ships approaching. They had simply materialized. How did they get so close? He demanded. Unknown, sir, his sensor officer replied, panic creeping into his voice. Our detection systems show no engine signatures, no heat traces. It's like they came out of nowhere. The human ships were tiny compared to Council vessels, Rex's smallest. Escort was larger than their biggest ship. He began to laugh. Open a channel, he ordered. Let's hear their surrender. Admiral Sarah Hill's face appeared on the main screen. She looked calm, almost relaxed, sitting in the command chair of her flagship Retribution. Behind her, human officers worked at stations that looked nothing like alien technology. Lord Commander Rex, Hill said politely, "You're early. We weren't expecting you for another 6 hours." Rex leaned forward. "Surrender now, human, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will make your entire species suffer." Hill tilted her head slightly. "Actually, we'd like to make you a counter-offer. You have nothing to offer," Rex snarled. 48 tiny ships against 300 Council vessels? You're outnumbered 7 to 1. Numbers, Hill said thoughtfully. Yes, you definitely have more ships than we do. She pressed a button on her chair. All units, execute Alpha Strike. The human ships moved like nothing Rex had ever seen. Instead of forming battle lines or charging forward like every other species, they scattered in all directions, their movements perfectly coordinated, but seemingly random. Rex's fleet tried to track them, but the human vessels were impossibly fast and agile. They darted between Council ships like insects. Too quick for the heavy alien weapons to target effectively. Fire at will, Rex shouted. Destroy them all. The space around Earth lit up with energy beams and missile trails as the Council fleet opened fire. But they were hitting empty space. The human ships seemed to know where every shot was going before the aliens fired. Then the humans fired back. The first antimatter torpedo struck the Council cruiser Vengeance amidships. Rex expected to see the small explosion of a primitive missile against advanced shields. Instead, the alien ship simply vanished in a flash of light brighter than a star. What was that? Rex demanded. His science officer was frantically checking his instruments. Unknown weapon type, sir. The Vengeance is gone, completely destroyed. No debris, no survivors. More human torpedoes found their targets. Each one erased a Council ship from existence with the same brilliant flash. Rex watched in growing horror as vessels that had conquered dozens of worlds were destroyed by weapons. He didn't understand. Return fire, he screamed. All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessels. But the humans weren't where the aliens expected them to be. Their ships moved in patterns that made no sense, yet somehow they were always in the perfect position to avoid incoming fire while delivering their own devastating attacks. Captain Lisa Park, commanding the human ship Lightning. smiled grimly as her AI system predicted the movement of 3 Council destroyers. Her ship spun through a gap barely wider than her hull, emerged behind the alien formation, and released 2 antimatter torpedoes. 2 more Council ships died in nuclear fire. Their shields are useless against our weapons, Park reported to Admiral Hill. Antimatter doesn't care about energy barriers. The battle was becoming a massacre. Council ships designed to fight traditional battles found themselves helpless against an enemy that refused to follow established rules of warfare. Rex's tactical officer was nearly hysterical. Sir, we've lost 37 ships in 12 minutes. Our weapons can't hit them, and their weapons go through our shields like they don't exist. Impossible, Rex growled. They're primitives. They've barely left their home system. Another flash lit up space as the Council battleship Crusher was vaporized by a spread of antimatter torpedoes. Rex realized with growing dread that his seemingly overwhelming fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy he had completely underestimated. Sir, his communications officer called out. Admiral Hill is requesting to speak with you again. Hill's face reappeared on the screen behind her. Rex could see tactical displays showing the positions of all remaining Council ships somehow. The humans had complete information about his fleet's movements. Lord Commander, Hill said pleasantly, would you like to discuss surrender terms now? Rex's world turned upside down for the first time in his military career. He was the one being offered terms of surrender. This isn't possible, he whispered. You made one mistake, Hill replied. You assumed we would fight like everyone else. You've conquered. But humans don't follow other people's rules, Rex. We make our own. Another Council ship exploded in the distance. Rex's mighty enforcement fleet was dying around him, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The primitives had become the predators. The galaxy trembles. News of the Council fleet's destruction spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In the great halls of the Krell homeworld, emergency sessions convened as reports flooded in from the few ships that had escaped Earth's system. Commander Vex, Rex's second-in-command, stood before the Council assembly with bandages covering half his face. His ship had been one of only 12 vessels to survive the human attack. 300 ships, he repeated, his voice shaking. Gone, destroyed by 48 human vessels in less than an hour. The Council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives from 1,000 worlds shouted questions in dozens of languages. How could primitive humans defeat the mighty enforcement fleet? What weapons could destroy shielded battleships so easily? Order! Shouted High Chancellor Crom from his elevated throne. The ancient alien's voice carried the authority of 10 million years of galactic rule. Commander Vex, explain exactly what happened. Vex activated a holographic display showing the battle. The assembled aliens watched in stunned silence as the human ships appeared from nowhere, moved like ghosts through space, and systematically destroyed vessels that had conquered countless worlds. Their weapons ignore our shields completely, Vex reported. One hit from their torpedoes and a ship simply vanishes. No wreckage, no survivors. Just light and energy. In the back of the chamber, Ambassador Tor of the Centauri colonies leaned forward with interest. His people had served the Council for 800 years, ever since their failed rebellion. Now, for the first time, someone had successfully resisted Krell power. One of Lord Commander Rex asked Chancellor Crom, dead. Vex replied flatly. His flagship was destroyed along with all others. I barely escaped in a damaged cruiser. The implications hit every alien in the chamber. If humans could destroy the enforcement fleet, they could strike anywhere in Council space. Worlds that had submitted to Krell rule for millennia suddenly faced a new possibility, freedom. On the other side of the galaxy, the news reached worlds that had dreamed of independence for centuries. In secret meeting halls and hidden communications networks, rebellion leaders gathered to discuss what humanity's victory meant. Captain Dana Wells, commanding the human ship Freedom, intercepted dozens of alien communications as her vessel patrolled the outer edge of Council territory. Her translation computers worked overtime, processing messages in hundreds of languages. Admiral Hill, She reported during the daily briefing. We're detecting increased activity on 17 different worlds. It looks like some council subjects are planning uprisings. Admiral Hill nodded from her command ship. After the battle at Earth, she had taken the human fleet deep into alien space. Their mission was simple: destroy any council military assets they could find while avoiding civilian casualties. Any word from Earth? Hill asked. President Clark sends her congratulations, Wells replied. She also wants to know when we're coming home. Hill smiled grimly. When the job is finished. The job was going better than anyone had expected. Human ships struck council bases and supply depots with devastating efficiency. Their antimatter weapons turned fortified positions into expanding clouds of plasma. Their stealth technology allowed them to appear anywhere without warning. Captain Mark Stone, commanding the Vengeance, led a squadron that destroyed an entire council supply convoy near the Vega system. 20 cargo ships and their escorts were vaporized in minutes. No resistance, Stone reported to Admiral Hill. Their weapons couldn't even target us. But the most important victory wasn't military. On the world of New Haven, a former human colony that the council had claimed 50 years earlier, local resistance fighters rose up when human ships appeared in orbit. Commander Jane Fox led the liberation of the planet's capital city, while her ship's antimatter torpedoes destroyed the orbital platforms that had kept the colonists enslaved. This is Commander Fox of the Earth Liberation Fleet, she broadcast. To the planet, New Haven is free. The celebration that followed could be heard across the galaxy. For the first time in council history, a conquered world had been liberated by an outside force. News of New Haven's freedom reached other oppressed worlds within days. On the mining planet Kepler Prime, human slaves who had been forced to work in dangerous asteroid fields suddenly found their alien overseers abandoning their posts. The humans are coming, the guards whispered to each other before fleeing in their ships. Nothing can stop them. Back in council space, panic was spreading among the ruling class. High Chancellor Crom called emergency meetings as reports poured in of human attacks throughout the galaxy. How many ships do they have? He demanded from his intelligence chief, unknown Chancellor. Our scouts report human vessels in 12 different systems simultaneously. Either they have a much larger fleet than we believed, or their ships can move faster than anything we've ever seen. The truth was simpler than the aliens imagined. Human ships were faster than council vessels, their engines more efficient, their navigation system superior. A single human squadron could strike 3 different targets in the time. It took council reinforcements to travel between systems. Admiral Hill studied the galactic map in her ready room. Red markers showed successful human strikes. Blue markers indicated liberated worlds. Green markers showed locations where alien resistance movements were gaining strength. We're winning, she told her staff during the evening briefing. But we need to be careful. The council still has thousands of ships scattered across the galaxy. If they coordinate their response, they won't, interrupted Captain Davis, who had joined the fleet after his promotion from intelligence work. I've been monitoring their communications. They're paralyzed by fear. Every alien commander is afraid to leave their home system in case humans attack while they're gone. It was true. The psychological impact of humanity's victories had been devastating. Council forces that had never known defeat were now terrified of an enemy they couldn't predict or counter. On worlds throughout the galaxy, alien citizens watched news broadcasts showing human ships in action. The vessels moved through space like living things, appearing and disappearing at will, striking with weapons that turned proud battleships into brief stars, perhaps, said Ambassador Tor during a private meeting with other subject species representatives. It's time to reconsider our relationship with the Council. His words carried throughout the galaxy. If the mighty Krell Empire could be challenged, perhaps they could be overthrown. Admiral Hill received a message that made her smile. Earth's diplomatic corps had been contacted by representatives from 47 different worlds, all seeking alliance with humanity. The galaxy was changing. The old order of Krell dominance and alien submission was cracking apart in its place. Something new was emerging, A community of free worlds united not by fear, but by hope. Set course for the next target. Hill ordered, let's finish what we started. Asterisk. A new dawn 1 year after the destruction of Rex's enforcement fleet. The galaxy looked very different. The great council chamber on Krell Prime sat nearly empty. Where once thousands of representatives had gathered to receive orders, now only a few dozen aliens remained, representing the handful of worlds still loyal to the old empire. High Chancellor Crom sat alone on his throne, staring at reports of the latest defeats. 3 more council strongholds had fallen to human forces in the past week. The Krell military, once feared across 10,000 systems, was reduced to defending their home worlds. Chancellor, his aide whispered nervously. The human admiral is here. Admiral Sarah Hill walked into the chamber flanked by 2 human Marines. She wore a simple military uniform, no fancy decorations or symbols of power. Behind her followed a delegation that would have been impossible a year ago. Representatives from worlds that had thrown off council rule. High Chancellor Crom, Hill said politely, thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Crom studied the human leader with ancient eyes. In all his centuries of life, he had never imagined sitting across from someone who had destroyed his empire's power. What do you want? He asked simply. Hill gestured to the beings behind her. Peace. The Free Worlds Alliance is prepared to offer the remaining council worlds full membership in our confederation. The Free Worlds Alliance had grown from humanity's victory into something larger than anyone had expected. It now included over 300 systems, all bound together by principles the galaxy had never seen before. Voluntary membership, democratic representation, and mutual defense. Your alliance, Crom said bitterly, built on the ruins of 10 million years of order, built on choice. Hill corrected. No world is forced to join us. No species is required to serve another. We offer partnership, not domination. Ambassador Tor of the Centauri colony stepped forward. His people had been among the first to join the alliance after breaking free from council rule. Chancellor Tor said gently, the old ways are finished. You can either join the new galaxy or be left behind by it. On Earth, President Mary Clark watched the negotiations. Through a live video feed, the scene would have been unthinkable 2 years ago. Human representatives dictating terms to the beings who had once demanded Earth's submission. But humanity had learned something important during their rise to galactic prominence. Power without wisdom led to tyranny. The Krell Empire had ruled through fear and force, creating enemies wherever they went. We're offering something different. Hill continued, the alliance protects its members, but it doesn't control them. Trade is open to all. Technology is shared freely. Scientific research benefits everyone. Dr. Emma Stone, now serving as the alliance's chief science advisor, had overseen the spread of antimatter technology to allied worlds. But humanity had been careful about sharing their most dangerous weapons. Only worlds that proved their commitment to peace received the full benefits of human science. The galaxy is safer when everyone prospers, Stone had explained to the Alliance Council. We learned that lesson from watching the Council's mistakes. Captain Lisa Park, now commanding her own battle group, patrolled the outer edges of Alliance space. Her ships maintained peace through strength, but they were no longer alone. Former Council worlds had built their own fleets using human designs and Alliance technology. The transformation hadn't been without challenges. Some worlds had tried to use their new freedom to attack old enemies. Pirates and raiders had attempted to fill the power vacuum left by the Council. Collapse, but the Alliance response had been swift and decisive. Human ships, supported by vessels from dozens of allied worlds, had crushed every attempt to return to the old ways of conquest and exploitation. Freedom comes with responsibility, Admiral Hill had told the Alliance. Assembly, we protect those who cannot protect themselves. We stop those who would harm the innocent. Back in the council chamber, Crom finally spoke again. And what of the Krell? What becomes of my people? The same thing that becomes of everyone else, Hill replied. You choose your own path. Join the Alliance and help build a better galaxy. or stay isolated and watch the universe pass you by. It wasn't really a choice, and everyone in the room knew it. The Krell could either adapt to the new reality or face extinction. As their empire continued to crumble, I will need to consult with my government. Crom said finally. Of course, Hill nodded. Take all the time you need. The Alliance will be here when you're ready. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Crom called out one last question. Tell me, Admiral, was this always your plan, to destroy the Council and replace it with your own empire? Hill paused at the chamber entrance. Chancellor, we never wanted an empire. We just wanted to be free when you denied us that freedom. You taught us that no one else should be denied it either. She looked around the empty chamber, remembering the intimidating crowd of aliens that had once filled it. The Council fell because it was built on fear. The Alliance will succeed because it's built on hope. 6 months later, the Krell homeworld formally joined the Free Worlds Alliance. High Chancellor Crom, in a ceremony broadcast across the galaxy, signed the documents that officially ended 10 million years of Imperial rule. The galaxy had entered a new age. Trade flourished between worlds that had once been enemies. Scientific discoveries were shared freely among species that had previously hoarded knowledge. Art and culture flowed along routes that had once carried only tribute and taxes. Admiral Hill stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking out at the stars. Her Antimatter fleet had grown into something larger, a symbol of protection rather than conquest. Guardians of a peace that the galaxy had never known. Status report, she asked her bridge crew. All Alliance sectors report peaceful conditions, Admiral, replied her tactical officer. No distress calls, no hostile activity, for the first time in recorded galactic history. The stars were truly at peace. Hill smiled, thinking back to that day when Captain Davis had returned from his first meeting with the Council. The aliens had expected humanity to surrender or be destroyed. Instead, humans had shown the galaxy that there was a third option, to fight for something better. The galaxy wasn't ready for us, Hill said quietly to herself. But maybe that's exactly what it needed, outside the viewports. Ships from dozens of worlds traveled freely through space, their crews working together toward a future none of them could have imagined. The age of empires was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And it had all started with humanity's refusal to accept the unacceptable. Asterisk.